we were speaking about the Ratha Yatra festival in the temple, and I was requested to speak something more about the Ratha Yatra festival, especially as it was celebrated and observed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a different mood here now compared to what it was before. So how many of you have been to the Ratha Yatra in Jagannath Puri? Very few. How many have been to any ISKCON Ratha Yatra? Still not that many. The Haribol was very loud, but the number of hands raised were not that many. So without saying Haribol, just raise your hands. Okay, still quite a few. Let's put it this way. How many of you have not attended any ISKCON Ratha Yatra so far? Raise your hand. That is quite a lot. Quite a lot. Okay, thank you. So today will be your first experience, and I hope it will be a very joyful experience for all of you. The Ratha Yatra is one of the oldest festivals in human history, and it is not an exaggeration to say so. Most of our festivals have a very ancient origin, and they are coming down. The events that are celebrated in those festivals have occurred long years ago, sometimes in a previous yuga like a Dwapar Yuga or Treta Yuga or the Satya Yuga, and sometimes even in some previous yuga cycles, not even the previous Satya Yuga but the one before that and the one before that. Yes? So, many of these festivals have occurred or have been observed from a long, long time. And the Ratha Yatra festival originated in Jagannath Puri, when a great king called Indradyumna, who was also a great devotee of the Lord, he arranged for the Prana Pratishtha or the installation ceremony of the deities of Lord Jagannath. Many of you have heard that story, so I won't repeat it now. But at the same time, it is important for us to note that King Indradyumna established the deity of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra on the day of the Snan Yatra, and 16 or 17 days later we have the grand Ratha Yatra festival. We discussed the spiritual significance of that. But today it seems there are many newcomers, so I was wondering whether we should go in detail into the descriptions of the Ratha Yatra as observed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's a different audience altogether. It is not like the audience of the morning. So, yes?
New girls were there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is none other than Krishna himself, and he took sannyas for the sake of propagating the path of bhakti to all, irrespective of caste, creed, religion, etc. After sannyas, he made Jagannath Puri his base, and he lived there, except for the initial period of 2 years when he went on a pilgrimage to holy places in South India and certain parts of Western India also. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would live in Puri, and the devotees in Bengal, in Mayapur and other parts who were very closely associated with him, who were his devotees, his followers, they felt great anguish because they could not get the association of Mahaprabhu. So every year they would come from Bengal to Jagannath Puri in Orissa to get the association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they usually came in the holy months of the Chaturmasya. The Chaturmasya are 4 months when generally it used to be the tradition that sannyasis did not travel. Not anymore. That hardly happens. But because now transport facilities and everything have increased a lot, Chaturmas is supposed to be a time when everyone does increased austerities. So in any case, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called all the devotees and they came there. And they all observed the grand Ratha Yatra festival in Jagannath Puri. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told them to come every year after that. So for 20 years, the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made it a point to come from Bengal to Puri, and they stayed there for 4 long months. And they enjoyed the association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And among the most prominent events that they participated in was the Ratha Yatra celebration, the festival. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, has very nicely and elaborately explained how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu celebrated these occasions. And in one particular year, the narration that he has cited is very, very interesting. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we discussed in the morning, organized 7 groups of devotees all around the chariot of Lord Jagannath. And these groups did kirtan. And whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started dancing, then all these groups came together. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing along with the kirtan in great ecstasy. Actually, something very miraculous also happened. And that is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded himself to be in all the 7 groups at the same time. In fact, the members of each group thought that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is only in our group and in no other group. So each of the 7 groups were thinking like that. And Srila Prabhupada says in his purport that this reminds one of similar astonishing pastimes performed by Krishna in Vrindavan and Dwarka. When Krishna performed the Rasa Leela in Vrindavan, there were many, many gopis. And Sri Krishna danced with every gopi. Every gopi thought that Krishna was only with her. So Krishna expanded himself into as many forms as were required to dance with all the gopis. So this is the unlimited opulence and potency of Krishna. Similarly, when Krishna moved from Vrindavan to Mathura and then onwards to Dwarka, there too he exhibited such amazing pastimes. He married 16,108 queens, and to each of them he gave one marvelous palace to live in. And it's not that he would spend one day with each, and therefore each queen's turn would come after 16,108 days. That was not how it happened. He expanded himself to be in each of those palaces at the same time. And in every palace, he was doing activities that were different from the other palaces. So, in other words, he expanded himself into 16,108 forms to be present with all his queens at the same time. So, Krishna performs such miraculous activities. They seem miraculous to us because it is not possible for us to do these things. But for Krishna, it is not miraculous. It is not even something extraordinary because Krishna's opulences and potencies are unlimited. And this is only a very, very tiny exhibition of his potencies and opulences. In any case, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even during the Ratha Yatra celebration, expanded himself into 7 forms, each identical, and each dancing differently in each of the 7 groups. And King Prataprudra, the king of Odisha, was a great devotee also. And he was observing all this. Another associate of the Lord, who was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was a great Pandit, a great scholar, he was also present there. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and King Prataprudra could observe the miracles that were going on. Not only could they see how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present in all the 7 groups at the same time, but the others could not see this happening. But only a few selected devotees were able to have the privilege of witnessing and understanding this. And furthermore, there were pastimes going on between these 2 exceptional forms of Krishna, Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would dance in front of the cart of Jagannath, sometimes behind. When Jagannath used to see the Lord dancing in front of him, sometimes he would move ahead and sometimes he would be stunned in ecstasy and he would be at a standstill and he would observe the beautiful dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At other times when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go behind, Jagannath would be anxious to see where Mahaprabhu was. And again sometimes he would halt the cart. In this way there was a transcendental reciprocation and competition going on between Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And hardly anyone was able to understand this. But Maharaj Prataprudra was greatly fortunate. He was able to see how all of this was happening. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that this was a little unusual, it seemed to many people, because the king had received extraordinary mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he could see these miraculous events occurring and understand them, whereas most other devotees were not able to see that and understand that. And this in spite of the Lord having apparently neglected Maharaj Prataprudra. On several occasions, Maharaj Prataprudra wanted to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And I think it's better you sit down, don't move like that. Should not move. Yes? Yeah. So So when he wanted to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was such a strict sannyasi, he declined. He said, I am a sannyasi. I cannot meet a person who is living an opulent lifestyle in the midst of money and women. I cannot do that. And it will set a bad example. So he would not meet, despite requests being made by many of the devotees. So everybody was feeling sorry for Maharaj Prataparudra, that he had not been able to get the transcendental audience, the darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But even though externally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to have not blessed Maharaj Prataparudra, internally though he was extremely pleased with the service attitude and the devotion of Maharaj Prataparudra. And that became visible at the time of the Ratha Yatra. And the specific incident or activity that Maharaj Prataparudra did that evoked the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was that it is the custom, and that is followed even to this day, that the king of Puri, he sweeps the road in front of the Ratha of Lord Jagannath before the Ratha Yatra begins. This has been a practice going on from the very beginning, from the time of King Indradyumna. So however high and mighty the king may be, he would come down, he would sweep the floor. And this has been the custom. And even though today we are living in a democracy, we are not living in a monarchy, and nobody has any formal titles of being a king, but nevertheless those who are in the family of the royal family, they are still respected as the kings. So even today, the kings, he will come in front of the chariot of Jagannath and sweep. So Maharaj Prataparudra followed this tradition, and he was also a great devotee of Jagannath. So he did that with great humility and devotion. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this, he was extremely pleased, and that is the reason he bestowed this mercy upon the king. So the lesson to learn for us is that whoever we may be very wealthy or very famous, or we may be big people in this world, we may be equipped with all kinds of opulences and so on. But when it comes to devotional service, we must all be very humble. We must serve in a very humble and devoted state of mind. Lord Krishna does not merely accept our physical service. More importantly, Krishna accepts the mood or devotion in which we offer that service. Therefore, he is called Bhavagrahi Janardana. Krishna's name is Janardana. As Janardana, he accepts the mood of devotion. So even if, let's say, somebody is singing a song glorifying Krishna, but that person doesn't have musical talent and is not able to sing very melodiously, but if that is sung with great devotion, then Krishna becomes very pleased. On the other hand, if somebody is a very talented singer but becomes proud of his or her singing ability and wants to exhibit his or her singing prowess for the sake of getting some fame, some recognition, etc., then Krishna is not pleased with that devotee that much, despite the fact that he is rendering some valuable service. So it is the mood of the service that is really very important. So Maharaj Prataparudra, as the king, has set the example for all of us to follow. So if the king of the land can be so humble, and be willing to do anything and everything for the pleasure of Krishna, so should we. And at this Ratha Yatra, when we start, you will also see that there will be brooms organized, and sometimes some dignitaries are invited. I don't know if that is going to be the case today, but dignitaries are invited, and they also come and start sweeping the floor. So we should also sweep the floor, but don't do it for the sake of posting a selfie and your Instagram or something, to show that, see how humble I am and I'm cleaning, don't strike a pose. Nowadays most people in their social media profiles, their picture is they strike some pose, some very glamorous pose. And by striking a pose, some very fashionable pose, then that's the kind of tradition that has started now. So don't do it in that spirit. So you just strike a pose for the camera so that your social media followers will increase or something like that. Yes? So devotional service is not an exhibition. It is simply an exercise of our serving spirit. So we should keep that in mind. So that is the reason that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed this mercy. And it's very hard to understand why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did this. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has indicated this secret here. He has revealed the cause for the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu upon the king. So we should also remember this always, regardless of whether we are talented or not talented, capable or not capable. If we simply, sincerely, in a humble spirit serve Krishna and the devotees, we will get all success in our life. And if somebody has talent and ability and still becomes very humble, that's excellent. But even if you don't have that, never mind. Krishna is not looking at the external. He is looking at the internal. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued to dance, and he forgot himself in the course of this dancing. And his transcendental potency, his internal energy made all the arrangements. So now that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very busy, sometimes in one group, sometimes in another group, and as they were waiting, then Lord Jagannath came, he mounted his cart. The cart was decorated exceptionally. Kaviraj Goswami has elaborately described how the carts were decorated. So Mahaprabhu performed kirtan there. And then he began to offer obeisances to Jagannath when Jagannath came onto the cart. And he began to offer many prayers, many verses from the Shastras. And some of these verses are mentioned by Kaviraj Goswami here. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Jayati Jayati Devo Devaki Nandana So Jayati Jayati Krishno Vrishnivansha Pradipaha. Jayati Jayati Megha Shyamala Komalango. Jayati Jayati Prithvi Bharanasho Mukundaha. This is a composition by the great King Kulashekhar, who was an Alwar from the Sri Sampradaya, and he lived in southern India in what is today Kerala, and he later went on to live in Sri Rangam also. So this is from his Mukunda Mala Stotra, a very famous compilation of devotional verses So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited this verse, and then he recited another verse. Jayati jananivaso devaki janmavado yaduvara parishat swayador bhirasyanna dharmam. Sthirachara vrijinagna susmita shri mukhena Vrajapura vanitanam vardhayan kamadevam. This verse is from the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam towards the end. And it is a glorification of Krishna from the very last chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it glorifies Krishna in many ways. Jayati Jananivasa Devaki Janmavado. Krishna is the Jananivasa. He is the Jananivasa because he lives amongst the Jana. His Nivas, his presence is amongst the Jana, ordinary people. So Krishna, in his incarnations, he mingles with ordinary people as if he were one of them. At the same time, he is also Jananivasa, because all the Jana, all the people, all the living entities reside in him. Nothing exists outside of him. So he is called Jananivasa. Devaki Janmavadaha, because he is called the son of Devaki. Now he is called the son of Devaki because who can be God's mother and father? God is by definition the source and origin of everything and everyone. So who can be the father and mother of Krishna? But Krishna, from the point of view of Rasa and Leela, he accepts a very wonderful service. He wants to be the son of his pure devotees. So Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda are his mother and father in Vrindavan. Devaki and Vasudev are his mother and father in Mathura and Devaki. In any case, we don't have time to discuss this verse, but incidentally, for those of you who want to practice Krishna consciousness more seriously, please note that just before you go to bed at night and immediately after waking up in the morning, you should recite some verses, and at the very least the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and you may, if you like, also remember your favorite deities. So this should be your daily practice every night before going to bed, and every morning immediately upon waking up, even as you are still in your bed or on your mat. Even without brushing your teeth or bathing, even as you lie in the bed, just wake up and immediately remember Krishna first thing in the morning. So among the verses that is recommended for devotees to recite immediately upon waking up is the one that I just chanted. Jayati Jananivasa Devaki Janmavado. This verse from the 90th chapter of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited this verse as well. Then he recited another verse. Naham vipro na cha narapati na pi vaishyo na shudro. Naham varni na cha grihapatir na vanastho yatirva. Kintu prodyan nikhila paramananda purna amritabdhe. Gopi bhartu pada kamala yor das dasanudasaha. This is a very famous verse, recited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all of us should try to memorize this verse because it tells us of our true identity. Some people speak of themselves in terms of their bodily identity. Some people speak of themselves in terms of their spiritual identity as the soul. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is going beyond both these identities, and he is declaring himself not just as a soul, but as a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Gopi Bhartuhu. Bhartuhu means the master. So Gopi Bhartuhu means the master of the gopis. That is Krishna. So Gopi Bhartu, that is Krishna, Dasa Dasanu Dasa. So to be the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is my introduction. This is who I am. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. But he's playing the role of a devotee to teach us how to become devotees. So if you can't remember the whole verse, where he says, I'm not a brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, I am not a brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra. Who am I then? I am the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, who is the master of the gopis. So even if you just remember the last line, Gopi Bhartuhu Padakamalyor Dasa Dasanu Dasaha. Even if you just remember this, that is sufficient. Your life is successful. Rather than trying to be directly a servant of Krishna, we should try to be a servant of the servant of Krishna's devotees. That is a glorious position to be in. So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited many verses. And then he also offered obeisances. Dandavat. Danda means a stick. Vat means like. So he offered Dandavat. Danda is like this, straight. So he offered full pranam, obeisances to Lord Jagannath. And all the devotees also followed suit. They also began to glorify Jagannath. They also offered obeisances when they saw Jagannath coming out and boarding the cart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to dance very, very ecstatically. What time do we end? What time do we end? 5. Okay. Yeah. And he began to dance with so much ecstasy that all the devotees were struck with wonder. And in fact, Nityananda Prabhu would have to hold out his hands to protect Mahaprabhu, out of fear that Mahaprabhu would fall to the ground and harm himself, having jumped so high in the kirtan. And Mahaprabhu was surrounded by a circle of his intimate devotees who would protect him from being pushed by the crowds, the teeming multitudes that had gathered there. And in this way, the Maharaj Prataprudra and his associates were also standing there watching. And it so happened that Maharaj Prataprudra and his assistants also formed one of these circles. King Prataprudra had placed his hands on Hari Chandan, one of the associates. And when the king beheld the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srivas Thakur was standing in front of him, and he was also dancing very ecstatically. Because Srivas Thakur was standing in front of the king and obstructing the vision of the king, Hari Chandan, who was the associate and assistant of the king, he tapped Srivas Thakur to request him to move aside so that the king would have an unfettered vision of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing. But Srivas Thakur was so engrossed in dancing that he did not notice. And when this happened repeatedly, then in transcendental anger, Srivas Thakur turned around and saw who was disturbing him like this. He did not understand who Harichandan was or why he was doing this. And he looked around in transcendental anger and slapped Harichandan. And when this happened, Harichandan became very angry. And as he was about to speak something, then Maharaj Prataprudra personally stopped him. And he said, "Oh Harichandan, you are very fortunate, for you have been graced by the touch of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him. Remember, don't imitate Srivas Thakur. Very dangerous for your spiritual and physical health." So these are pastimes that go on at such exalted levels. We should hear them for what they are. And in this way the chanting and dancing went on, and even the deities felt enough profuse happiness, and they looked on with great joy as the devotees danced and chanted their glories. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstasy knew no bounds. He went on singing, and all the symptoms of transcendental ecstasy erupted in the person of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But sometimes when he saw people around him, he would control himself. And that's also when he began to chant some of those verses which I chanted this morning also, in remembrance of what the Ratha Yatra festival was all about. And now, with these thoughts in mind of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic dancing and kirtan in the Ratha Yatra, now we will all also proceed to the Ratha Yatra, and all of us should also dance and chant in great ecstasy. But remember, be cautious, don't push others around, don't block others' vision, and don't imitate Srivas Thakur. Shri Jagannath Ratha Yatra Mahotsav ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hare Krishna.